Welcome to Morally Corrupt, a show here on the Ringer Reality feed. I'm Rachel Lindsay. She's Callie, Crerie. Guys, we've had a strong 45 minutes of pre-talk. We're going to jump right into it. From
not a lot about the show, though, about random things.
From concerts to hall passes to, I don't know, just random stories. Like it's, if these mics could record before. I was going to say if these walls could talk, but I was trying to find like better. If these computers could talk, I don't know. Anyways, let's get into the things that they actually care about. Actually, they would love that, what we talked about before. But let's get into the recaps. We got Beverly Hills, we have Atlanta, we have Summer House, Southern Charm is no longer with us. That 2-part reunion ended last week. But still get a little bit of Craig on Summer House, or at least Paige talking about Craig. My gosh, some of the information. I know, Jodi, you won't be joining us for Summer House, but the things Paige is saying, I think she knew she had to break up with him before the season aired. It wouldn't have survived.
I think it is convenient that she timed the breakup before the season aired.
Because think about it. The season ended in September. I'm shocked the way she's talking. It lasted another 2 months.
Yeah.
Almost 3 months. So
I'm shocked
she had to end it. Mm-hmm.
It's shocking that as she's saying these things, they're still together. And I would really like to understand the breadwinner comment because
I 100% believe she's the breadwinner.
Oh, I was going to say, if I had to guess, I would say that Paige makes more money than Craig. But like breadwinner to me means that you're paying for everything.
No.
You're paying for his stuff. Not all of it, but you are paying for some of his stuff. I think that she pays for all of her stuff and he pays for all of his stuff. And then remember like last year or the year before last, she said that Craig like offered to pay for some of her rent, remember?
Mm-hmm. But so she's like, blown up so much in the last year. I mean, she's got...
No. I know. And like her tour, like this was her first tour. Mm-hmm. So there's more income streams for Paige that have been happening. But breadwinner to me is just a weird comment in their situation. Does that make sense?
I think a year and a half ago, she also was in a different mindset where she wanted to be taken care of. Now that she is. But I thought you were going to say this about breadwinner. I'm not saying that Paige's career doesn't have longevity, but you know, Craig has a business.
Craig's does.
And
yeah.
And I mean, businesses aren't long lasting, but it just, you know, it could grow. He could sell it to a bigger company. It's not dependent on his voice, his face. You know what I mean? It's about the product where, you know, with what we do here, we have to be a part of it. We are the product.
Yeah.
And so like that could change. Like if Hannah decides she doesn't want to do it anymore, like it could change everything with, you know, Giggly Squad or whatever it may be, or Summer House ends, or they don't want you back, or you know what I mean? Being on TV every year really does do wonders for your career. No, like it really does help you out with brand deals.
So we don't even know if Paige will be on Summer House next year.
Right. It really gives you an opportunity to further your audience, to be funny, to show your fashion, to have drama. Like people want you to do the media rounds. Brand deals want to work with you because you're constantly on television. And so it really does help you. But you know, if Craig lost all those things, I think his store, and I think he said he was opening up another one, there's, you know, so that's what I found interesting about the breadwinner. But I listened to Paige and I feel like that used to be me. I used to talk like that before I was married. The relationship that I had before I was married, I thought like that. I talked like that. And neither one of us were willing to make sacrifices for the other. And that's why it ended. It was a long distance relationship. And I remember going into The Bachelor, I was like, and I would have this conversation with guys. I was like, the guy that I thought I was going to spend my life with, it didn't work. And one of the main reasons was I was like, I'm a lawyer. I have the career. You're a coach. It's always fluctuating. Find a job in the city that I'm working in or the state that I'm working in. There was just no, I was kind of like, I'm the breadwinner. I'm the one whose career has, so there was no sacrifice. And so I promised myself in the next relationship that being in a partnership is about sacrifice and compromise. And so I was willing to do that. And where Paige is right now, she's not, and I'm not faulting her. That just means you shouldn't be in a relationship.
Yeah. Andy has said this a bunch with like people coming on Watch What Happens Live. Like, do you see the clues now? Like, are you seeing like, we're seeing a lot more in this season than we have in the past. And I'm like, yeah, everyone is but Craig.
Well, your emotions blind you.
But even beyond that, like she's saying all these things to everyone but Craig.
Well, I thought that too. Okay, sorry, we're going to do Summer House. We're going to do it at the top and the bottom. We'll bring Jodi on.
Yeah, sorry. We got very sidetracked onto Summer House.
It's the best recap this week. Despite what happens in Atlanta as a whole, to me, Summer House was the best show this week. But I thought the same as you, that she wasn't, and I think that still holds true. But when Sierra, which thank you for doing the Lord's work at the end of that episode, where she pulls her to the side to have a conversation, Paige says, Sierra goes, did you tell Craig that? And she's like, yes, I told him I'm not raising children here. I'm not doing this here. And I was shocked.
Yeah. No. But it's more so like, tell him you think he's a hater. Tell him that, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like, tell him that you're like, I just think that she should, obviously you talk to your girlfriends differently than you talk to your spouse. But I wish that she would have like given him a little bit more, because it shouldn't have been a blindside to Craig. If he knew 25% of what she's saying on this show, it would have been way less of a blindside. And maybe Craig would have been still a little bit delusional because of how important Paige was to him. But how shocked we were if this season would have came out earlier, I would have been like, well, we saw this coming. You know what I mean? But like we didn't as much when it happened. But the more and more and more we see, the more we're like, she made the right decision. And even in this episode when Sierra was like, you're trying to put it on him because you don't want to be the bad guy to go like, you know, not break up with him. That's not exactly what Sierra was saying, but she was basically like, you're putting it in his hands. Like you do what you want to do. Yeah. And I was like, yeah, that's why they broke up. Because Paige was finally like, he's never going to leave me. And it's not what either of them wanted. It's so clear that they both want different things. Yeah. Yeah. So it was the best decision. Paige made the best decision for both of them. I don't think it should be as salty as it's been. Like, he wasn't a horrible boyfriend. You were not a horrible girlfriend. You guys just wanted different things. Let's move on. Yeah. It's because they have the hindsight now. So it, you know, you start seeing cameras, you start speaking. Yeah. You start speaking from a place of hindsight rather than, because you forget, you're so far removed from those beginning feelings and why you fell in love. And I'm speaking from experience that you speak through like now this knowledge that you have that you wish, because it's a weird thing. It's almost like you're speaking from the way you wish you would have seen things, the way you wish you would have been before. Yeah. Okay. Beverly Hills. Womp, womp, womp. All right. So Beverly Hills reunion, second part of the reunion, not a whole lot going on, which is why Chelsea said on the Monday show that she really enjoyed this season of Beverly Hills. And I think it's obvious that here on Morally Corrupt, Chelsea is probably the least morally corrupt of all of us. Chelsea is probably the most positive person that we have, a part of our morally corrupt family. Then Jodi, and me and you are probably tied. At the bottom. At the bottom. But Chelsea, I don't know what she saw that she loved in this season. I think we came in hot thinking it was going to be great. It just wasn't. And the reunion to me reflects that, because if there's ever a time to make up for a shitty season, it's at the reunion. You know,
You have 3 episodes to get it done. When this episode ended, I couldn't believe, I was like, what else do we have to talk about? How in the world do we have a part 3?
I am not sure how we have a part 3. And I don't think that we would have had a part 3 if Garcelle didn't walk off. But because Garcelle walks off, they made a 3rd episode out of it. I did not enjoy this season at all. Like, if you really think about the storylines, Erica redid her house. Okay. Garcelle, they went to her beach house, which I still think is really nice, but not anything that I like needed to see. Sutton, we got to see her mom. That was actually enjoyable. I did like meeting Sutton's mom.
Yeah, Reba. No, I loved her in Augusta.
And that dynamic. And then you have Kyle and Mauricio's divorce and PK and Dorit's divorce and Dorit and Kyle's feud. That's not like a fucking jam-packed season by any means.
No. And I even think that you were nice in some of the storylines. Like, other than a couple of sentences with Kyle and Mauricio, we didn't get much there. We're never going to get anything with Morgan. It just needs a refresher. But 2 questions. One, we all figured Jennifer Tilly out. She was there for pure to be entertained by these women. But I was surprised, and maybe I've just missed her saying it before, that she was a super fan of the show. And they let her come on. She's like, I'm a big fan of the show. And I'm like, oh, you really were here just for these women to entertain you in real life instead of on your television screen. I'm like, did she pay to be on the show? Because that's what it felt like.
I did not think that at all, but I would not be surprised if that was the case. I, however, love Jennifer Tilly. And
I do too.
I love what she brought to this show. And if she brought a little bit of that shade that she had in the after show to the real show, she would be a great housewife. I also love that she took out a fucking Kit Kat or whatever she was eating and eating it during, like, that was hilarious to me. That shouldn't be my highlight of this part 2 of the reunion, but I loved it. I don't know if it was during the reunion or I don't know if I saw it like on something random, but did you see when she like leaned over to Garcelle and was like, is Sutton on anxiety medication?
No, I didn't see that.
Garcelle was like, we're mic'd. And she was like, oh, and like sat back up. I was just like,
that sounds like a yes.
Yeah, but like, oh, of course. And it makes sense.
Very chill. Yeah.
Insanely chill. At the very, very end of the part 2 reunion, when Dorit was like, oh, there she is. Here she comes. I was just like, it feels like I'm watching a play. Like, I said this in the beginning of the season. I liked Dorit in the beginning of the season because I was like, oh, we haven't seen this side of Dorit before. And then it got to like, I don't know, episode 5 where I was like, is Dorit playing a part? Like, it felt like Dorit was given a character and is playing that character or something. And this reunion or this part of the reunion was also super frustrating for me because I kept like wanting to like that the Garcelle, Kyle, Sutton side of the couch was just not coming back at the Erica, Bose, Dorit side of the couch hard enough. And I'm like, just because they're talking louder and a lot doesn't mean they're right. Like, go back at them. And Garcelle seemed defeated after episode 1. So she was just like, okay.
Garcelle was over it. It's like she knew that it was the beginning of the end. Sutton was so chill. And I mean, then there was Kyle and, Jennifer joined. That's a good point. Like they were giving nothing back. Question. Kathy comes in at the end of this episode. Do you think Kathy is now doing a little bit of a bit?
Yes.
Yeah. She's aware. I mean, do I think she's quirky and she does these things? Absolutely. But like her bringing out the gum and the way that I'm like, okay, now she knows what the audience likes. I think now she knows to make a moment.
I just think that Kathy Hilton is not dumb. I think she's smart.
No.
I think that Is she quirky? 100 and like a billion%. Like she has her things. She's not changing for anybody. And honestly, like watching her sometimes, I'm like, that's how you know she's rich, because like she has been able to like have this behavior and no one say anything to her because of how rich she is. So she's used to being able to do whatever and no one like checking her or anything. But does she play it up now? Yes, she does. Do I enjoy it? I do. So she's doing a good job.
Yeah, no, for sure. Like we clock it, but it's not annoying.
No,
it's not
yet.
Too much. The Kyle and Dorit thing is frustrating to me because it's very obvious, and Andy kind of finally gets them to this point of, if Dorit was doing with Mauricio what you are doing with PK, especially because there was a rumor that they were liking each other, it's like, Kyle, you would be flipping tables, cursing people out, demanding Dorit off the show. It's crazy to me how she can't see it. I mean, she kind of is like, yeah, I would be wrong, but she's very flippant about it. You would be losing it. Losing it. And I will say, other than the last 2 minutes of this episode, I really enjoyed Dorit's perspective. Like, I was like, Dorit makes sense. Totally makes sense. Dorit has a right to be upset about this. When it came to Kyle, I thought, only Kyle. I'm not going to give her Sutton. I'm not going to give her Garcelle. But when it came to Kyle and how Kyle handled it with PK, I'm on Dorit's side with that.
I am on Dorit's side to a degree. Do I think it's really hard because throughout the reunion, we're getting like all these different timelines. And Kyle was like, I thought Girls Girl was out of the window when you showed my text message to you. And she was like, Kyle, we weren't friends at that point. And I'm like, okay, so you guys weren't friends at that point, but then you expected her to still have your back way after that point, and you guys still weren't friends. I just think that, and it's pretty clear to me because of what other people have said too, Kyle and PK were cool. PK and Mauricio are very good friends still to this day. So I feel like Kyle was around PK without Dorit probably a decent amount, because it seems like PK would go over to their house with Mo and Kyle would see him and talk to him. Her being like, you talk shit about me. Her being like, Kyle going up to PK and being like, we're arguing and this is what we're arguing about. And like, this is my side of it. I don't necessarily think that's like talking shit about her. That's like saying what the situation is. I could kind of like see the whole, like I can totally understand Kyle's point of view. I just think if you ever wanted a friendship with her again, at the end of the day, I think it's totally fine for her to text PK. Like, I think all that's fine. You just need to communicate that to Dorit if you wanted a friendship. I'm just not sure if she even wants, it doesn't seem like
that's a good point.
At that point in time, she was too concerned with having a friendship with Dorit. But 100% agree with Andy, and I think Dorit too. If Dorit ever did this, Kyle would be pissed.
Yeah. Interesting point. If Kyle wants a friendship, I believe, when the cameras are playing. I don't think they're friends right now. You know, I don't think she has any interest. And also, she didn't even want to tell her things about her divorce, about Morgan. I'm like, Dorit thought the friendship was deeper than what Kyle did. That's for sure. Yeah. And Dorit's feelings are hurt. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
That's fair. I just, and Dorit playing Dorit like a complete victim. I'm like, you're not worried about Kyle trying to fuck your husband. Like, come on. Well, Dorit chose
Kyle over Lisa Vanderpump. Remember that. Yeah. Remember, they came in as her friends. So she has a lot of loyalty to Kyle. Did you see on TikTok the girl with the Bravo tee?
Which girl?
Not me about to inform you about some TikTok information. So there's a girl.
What girl?
on TikTok who was on a plane and was like,
oh, I saw it.
I don't know if she has a big platform, but tell me all your Bravo tea.
Yeah, I saw that.
Did you see the one about Mauricio?
I saw someone saying that Mauricio was at a bar somewhere wearing a wedding ring, and something like a girl asked him about the wedding ring, and he was like, "Oh, is that a problem?" And this was when he was fully married, and so she was just like, "Yeah, he's been cheating on Kyle forever."
Yeah, so it's like I don't know if it's the same one, but he opened up the agency 6 or 7 years ago in this person's city, and then tried to kiss her, and she saw the ring, and he's like, "What?" I believe. I'm sorry. Where there's smoke, there's fire. I believe it. I'm sure some of these are fake, but
I'm sure some of these are fake. But it's just been so many things.
I mean, I know somebody who told me years ago of a story that they saw him. Years, and this is somebody I know well. Yeah. And so it's, I think this is some of the, which always, but obviously Kyle knew about this, maybe not everything. And it always makes me wonder, what was the straw that broke the camel's back? What was the thing? Was it a repeat offender where you were like anybody but her? Was it
Morgan?
Was it? No, because Kyle makes it, she said he did something that shook her trust that she can't.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like, did he go back to the same person? Is it that she called him and she was like, never again? And he promised her he would never again. And she found out it's something he did where, because I'm like, if you've known he's been cheating, what did he do? Maybe one of the daughters found him. I could see that. And sorry, guys, I'm totally speculating here. But if one of the daughters found him or saw it, or, a friend came and she's like, don't ever put our daughters in that situation again.
Yeah.
And then maybe like something like that. But it's just interesting with all these rumors coming out. And we'll never know because Kyle doesn't want to be embarrassed by it. Mm-hmm. It's already embarrassing enough with all these stories.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, okay, that's really this episode. At the end, Dorit has that moment where it's not exactly like you live like I'm trying to do her accent. It's just staccato. But, she feels like she has like this big boss girl moment where she's like, you live on a fucking main road. And Andy goes, in Bel Air though, right?
Yeah.
And she's like, come on. I'd rather live where I live any day. And it's like, the Valley's nice. Encino's nice too. But
Rachel, and by the way, Encino is very nice. No shade on Encino. I actually like Encino. I have a lot of friends that live in Encino and have houses. Those houses in Encino are a quarter of the price of those same houses if they were in Bel Air. Yeah, that is just the fact.
She lives in Bel Air.
They are not comparable. I can't even I'm trying to think of it's like saying that, I don't even know, that Long Island is the same as the Upper East Side. Stop it. It's just not the same. Dorit's house is very nice and pre-foreclosure multiple times, and whatever the fuck excuse that she gave from PK, which was insane.
So that's
she just
real?
believed anything that he said.
That's real?
Is it real that her house was in pre-foreclosure? Yes, that was real. Wow. And I guess it's real that PK said that it's because they changed PK told me that they changed the rates and he missed a call and they needed to call him back. And they called back. We're not in pre-foreclosure anymore. Girl, that's not normal.
My rates changed on my stuff. And I do automatic debit. And the only reason I noticed is because I was doing my taxes. But I was like, if you pay it every month, you pay it every month.
Exactly.
The rate changed. You might call and say, what was the increase? And it's usually the property taxes, right? My mortgage didn't change. Right. Property taxes went up. And so when she said it, I was like,
that is very normal in California.
Yeah, she said it. And I was like, girl, maybe you don't have automatic debit. That's fine, to each their own, but still, you don't just not pay.
No, also
made no sense.
The fact that she's just like, that's what PK said. I'm like, you're proving Sutton's point right now. You have no idea. Like, you're just believing whatever PK said. And you spent the whole first part of the reunion, 20, 30 minutes trashing the man, but you're just believing his word on every single thing that he says on this. Whatever. Sutton's house is might be on a busier road in Bel Air. Sure. Sutton's house is probably double the value of Dorit's and probably smaller.
Yeah. And then Dorit's like, at the end, she's like, oh, there she is. Yeah. That did make me laugh. That did make me laugh. Though. She's like, here she comes.
I was like, okay, Dorit. But I did laugh at Dorit's shade, but I was just like, girl, we all know Sutton got money. Like, you don't have to act like you don't have to try to prove that she doesn't have a lot of money. She getting $200,000-$300,000 a month from her ex. Like, it is what it is.
In addition to own assets. It was funny though when Dorit's like, but she was trying to throw more shade. So she says the Queen of Sheba, and then she's like, what does she say? There are other things that are more than money.
I know.
The family, the whatever she said, people who love me. I don't remember what she said. And I was just like, Dorit, her wallet is bigger than yours. That's a fact. And she said it because she knew it would sting.
It was going to bother you. Exactly. She could have said the same shit to Kyle. And Kyle would not have had the same, well, obviously Kyle has money, but she would not have had the same reaction as her. No. Or she could have said the same thing to Garcelle, for example. Sutton has more money than Garcelle, and Garcelle would be like, yeah.
You do. Like, Dorit, it just stings because we always have to kind of go back and remember how these people came to us at first. The things that Dorit was wearing, the way she was, like living her life, it's totally different now. Not saying she still doesn't have nice things and wear great things. It's just not to the level of, everything down to her nipple covers were designer, everything. So anyways, I guess we have part 3, which better be 30 minutes because I just don't know what's left to talk about.
Unclear.
Really don't. All right. Moving on to Atlanta. Highly anticipated episode. We knew this was the episode that comes to a head where Kenya does what she does and her actions get her kicked off the show. Not a whole lot happening prior to this. It's really about Kenya opening her salon, and it's really about possibly the end of a Kenya era. Not saying she can't come back, because I never thought I'd see Phaedra again on a Bravo network after her drama with Kandi and Todd and Portia. But she's not only back, she's beloved. They want her on everything. Traders. Married to Medicine. Now
well, she should be back on this show soon now that this was Kenya's end, right?
Right. Can't get enough of her. So Kenya could come back, but we see everybody gather together. It's Kenya's salon. Everybody talks about how nice and lovely it is. She really does seem to care. It seems like it's one of those spas where you get like the scalp massage and, like they put the thing on your head and it tingles and it's like, it seems like that. she didn't say that, but like that's what I feel like you get. Yeah. In addition to getting your hair done, which is really nice. And I think will thrive in, Atlanta, but they all show up for her. We get this like sit down with Miss Lawrence, which did we need that? I love Miss Lawrence.
Me too.
It was so random. It was like, do we need filler?
Also, I feel like we haven't seen him in a while.
No, because he's acting. He's like does plays, singing.
Yeah.
But it was like a moment. It was like a moment to uplift Kenya. It was like a moment to shine light on her
before she crashes
before
and burns.
She tears the whole thing down.
Well, I feel like
that was the purpose.
That was the weird thing to me about watching the episode is I was like the whole like first 40 minutes of the episode, 45 minutes of the episode is talking about how important this spa is, like how far she's come, how much money she's put into it, how she's doing this for her daughter, how she's done this for like by herself. All for you to go do that? Like you know how usually on these housewife shows, when there's an important event, like let's say there's like a charitable event, anything that's super important to one housewife, they always are like, guys, can you please be on your best behavior? Like no drama today. Like don't have this discussion here. Like, they'll say that to their friends. Like, I'm kind of nervous to invite you guys because I don't want anything bad to happen. Like, this is my daughter's birthday, or like whatever it is. They'll make a big deal about there not being drama at an important event.
Mm-hmm.
This was the most important event that we've seen Kenya have on the show, and she brought the bullshit.
She definitely did.
Comfortable. Like, I cannot believe she did that. And I don't know if you saw the TikTok that we shared in the group, but like the person at FedEx that had to blow up these pictures on this cardboard, were they not like, what is this for? Like, I saw someone else be like, I think we've seen it for a while now, but you really see it on this episode. Kenya does not have friends. Can you imagine telling your friends that you're about to do this? They would be like, no, the fuck, you're like, no fucking way. You are not. That's not happening.
I think a lot of these housewives, and particularly in Atlanta, surround themselves with like their makeup artist, their hairstylist, their stylist, their best gay. And they get all these people that tell them yes, yes, and how fabulous and wonderful they are. You see it on Married to Medicine with Quad, kind of is like that too. And these people who aren't going to check them. You know, she obviously didn't tell Cynthia because I thought Cynthia had the best reaction to her. She obviously didn't tell Portia. She didn't tell these people. She told the people who knew were not going to tell her no.
Do you have friends like that?
No. I
can't think of a friend that wouldn't have been like, wait, what are you going to do?
This isn't a good look. My friends check me all the time. My friends will be like, you're not acting like yourself. What's wrong? Like, this isn't good for you. Da, 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 da. No. Oh, my friends have too much. They talk too much.
I really can't imagine telling anyone in my life that I'm about to do this and then being like, yeah, fuck that girl. No. They would be like, what?
It was the whole rollout of it that was so unhinged. You know,
unhinged.
The speech, because the way I envisioned it, I thought, okay, the girl comes out and, you know, like I thought similar to the marching band that came in, maybe there were going to be like 4 or 5 people holding up, you know, a sign. And for her to completely attach herself to it and to say, give this whole speech, throw her daughter in there. You know, it's the whole thing about women. It's this beautiful moment. Like forever, this day and this moment will be tied to your salon. And I don't know how you couldn't see that, which makes me think she was two things. She was so filled with rage that she was blinded by it and wanted to destroy this woman. And the second thing is that my issue with Kenya, I'm not one of these, Kenya's fans are rabid. You get on Twitter, it's like Kenya's always trending. They are obsessed with her to a point where they are similar to the people like the Floxam and Boxam who are going to tell you yes. And you know what I mean? Like with the Ursula, the eels. Like that's what I feel like her fans are like. They're like always telling her how amazing and how great she is. And I think Kenya's ego, this is why
she thought she was untouchable.
Huge Kenya fan. She thought she was untouchable. She thought I can do whatever I want because I am so beloved. There is no way that they will do anything but kick this girl off the show. And she learned her lesson the hard and embarrassing way. So honestly, she could have just put the pictures of her face work and it would have been shady.
That would have been fine. That would have been fine. And she wouldn't have gotten kicked off the show. I still would have thought the whole thing was weird. You went from she didn't even separate speeches. She used her speech to introduce her salon to everyone, to also take down this woman. It was beyond bizarre to make that choice. And I agree with you. I think that she thought that there was nothing that she could do. And her fans, she must have some friends that are fans because I can't imagine any friend saying that this was a good idea. And I know people gave Cynthia a lot of credit for going up to her and being like, I don't know Brittany, like I'm getting to know her, but I know you. And like that was below you. But honestly, the only like clearly Portia was like, no, I'm going. Like she left while Kenya was still speaking. What's her name? Callie left while Kenya was speaking before the pictures were even shown. Before the pictures were even shown, Callie was like, I am uncomfortable. I'm leaving. That's wild. Like you were so unhinged that before you even got to your grand finale, people were like, this is too much.
Yeah.
The only person I felt like didn't really say anything was Drew. Like who just like kind of was just like, I don't know.
Which is normal. I wouldn't expect shit from Drew. You know?
Yeah.
But I also think Drew was probably in shock. I think Cynthia stayed to say something to her.
Oh, 100%.
I think Cynthia was like, I need to tell her about herself. You know? I mean, just imagine being, Kenya's in her 50s, right? Just imagine being 50 something and being like, who is this hoe? Who is this hoe? It's like, girl, you're showing us a totally different side of you. And what I've always given credit to Kenya for is I thought that she was smarter enough to, like, in situations like this, to turn it into something, you know, like Gone with the Wind Fabulous or, you know, the twirl. And, you know, she, Don't Come For Me Unless That's It. Like she can turn something into a moment to where why she's become iconic in the Real Housewives of Atlanta franchise. This could have been that. She could have, like, Britt is wrong for threatening you. And for all the people who are like, Britt wasn't going to bring a gun. I have to say, we don't know Britt. She's a new housewife. So I don't know if she is packing at all. I don't know what she has in her car, what her husband does, who her friends are.
She probably is.
I mean, like, but Kenya could have had bodyguards packing. Like, oh, I don't carry my own pistols. These two men do it for me. Like, there were so many things she could have done to make it better.
Complained just about that. Like, Britt did cross the line. She should have never said that. Like, especially
and Britt would have never come back.
Yeah, she did not have to go this far. And it seems like Kenya still doesn't get it because her posts, I don't know if you saw them this week, were weird. Like, she definitely wasn't like, I took it too far. I made a mistake. That's not the vibe we were getting. She even reposted someone saying, free Kenya. Kenya, what? How do you still think this is okay? I don't know if it's illegal in Atlanta. It's borderline illegal if it's not illegal.
She says she got it online. I didn't look online to see.
It doesn't matter. Are you able to just, I don't know. I can't believe she did that.
Not that I ever thought it would make sense, but I guess it was 10 times worse than what I thought.
Me too.
You know, I don't even know if I knew she blew him up on a poster. I thought maybe she was just like, saw the picture and was showing it around at people.
Honestly, that would have been better. And I don't know if someone said it or not, but like, girl, you didn't have to blow up a picture. You could have gotten into a little argument with her and been like, I seen you on the internet sucking dick. That would have been just fine. Her blowing up a picture. And then when all this stuff first leaked, remember she was like, I don't know what she said, but she basically said it wasn't true. It was true and it was worse than what we all thought.
Yeah, Kenya, it's just, and it's not even just the act. It's what it also symbolizes. It's the act of doing it is obviously disgusting, but to be a champion of women, to have a daughter, the way that women or the public have talked about you at times, it's just like, it's just like beneath you, you know? As Cynthia said, and that's why I say Cynthia said it best, but it's just so anti what you're supposed to represent as a person. And it would be better if she would say, watching it back, I realized that, I was going through a moment and I was so affected that I stepped out of character and I wasn't myself. And I don't know what I was thinking in that moment. I was hurting and I wanted to hurt her just as bad. I was like, anything like that would have been so much better. But, you know, she 100%. Thinks it's like nobody is walking around the NBC Uni headquarters with picket signs saying justice for Kenya. Kenya, they will move on past you. Nene Leakes thought she was above it. Even though she is still deemed as, she's probably on everybody's Mount Rushmore of housewives. Nene
100%.
Leakes isn't
But Nene
even
also didn't
back
do
yet.
anything like this.
But my point is she thought, you know what I mean? She thought she was above it all. Like they'd beg her to come back. She could do whatever. And it's like, if Nene isn't back, I know Phaedra came back, whatever,
If
but I'm
Nene's
just saying,
not
like,
above it all, then you ain't above it all.
then you're not above it all. You're not above it all. So, good luck on the next venture. Good luck.
Also, you know what's crazy is that I haven't seen any of the women. I've seen Portia. I've seen Callie. It doesn't seem like any of them are friends with Brittany. Like today, they're all like, y'all
not
don't find
even
out who she
Callie?
is. No, Callie did an interview. I don't know what it was on. She did an interview this past week and the interview was like, it seems like you and Britt aren't friends anymore. And she was like, yeah, we're definitely not. So I'm like, damn, like it seems like Brittany would have seen her way out, seen herself out. Like you did not have to take out the trash, Kenya.
Out of all of the women, Brittany is the one who I'm like, there's something that I don't believe about you. And I don't know if it's also because she looks different in every scene. Every scene, she looks different. With makeup, without makeup, the old pictures. Like, I'm like, wait, is that Brittany? I don't know if that's why I just don't trust it. But there's something I just don't believe about her life. And maybe that's the fallout. Now, Kelly, somebody told me Kelly looks like Lil' Kim, and I can't unsee it.
I see that. It's
like not current Lil' Kim, but because she's like so little and they said it and I'm like, oh, I see it.
Little, thick, got a little bit of plastic surgery.
Yeah. Can't unsee it. Well, if
but
they
I don't know what
hung out
happens,
with Britt,
it doesn't seem like anyone's friends with Britt. So I'm just like,
it's going to make for a good season. You could have
waited till the end of the season and filed your complaints and everybody seems to be on the same page. She probably wouldn't have been back anyways.
Yeah. Well, if they all fall out with Britt, because I would imagine they're all going to gather around her right now. If it comes to a fallout, we have a good season ahead of us. So, see ya, Kenya, rightfully deserved to be let go. I'm glad Bravo made that decision because it would have been a disastrous season if they kept her. And I just wouldn't have felt right about that. Like, what are you condoning if you allow these things to happen? So
I am sad to see Kenya go. She's been such a staple, but like,
it's all right.
I'm all right. She just made some bad decisions.
I'm all right. I'm right. All right. That is it for us. Thank you, Callie. And we'll come Jodi and we'll do Summer House. I know we gave y'all a little bit of Summer House earlier, but there's still so much more to talk about. Okay. Summer House. Jodi, an episode I enjoyed.
Rachel, I'm so glad to hear it. And like, I feel like it's like my picker's off, like, because off the pod, producer Olivia was like, this was a great episode. And I was like, was it? I feel like I can't tell anymore because, I just love them sort of unabashedly.
And it was a good episode. And what I've realized is I'm too hard on Summer House because I'm thoroughly entertained every single week. I think the concept is a little stale to me, but the people are still bringing it. And I think I'm doing what I do in life. I'm jumping ahead to next summer and just wondering how this works next summer because I don't see it rather than just enjoying the gift that is in front of me right now.
I do understand. I am someone who is like uncomfortable with comfort. If I'm not, moving in a forward direction, I feel like something is wrong. And I could say that for Summer House when by all means, this season is full steam ahead. I feel like it's a good season. I can't believe how much happened in this episode. Like, Lindsay ruined Shabbat. Kyle is DJing. We left the house, Emerald saw his cousins. There's lots going on.
Let's start with the car rides out there.
Okay.
I don't know what's wrong with Jesse. And when I look at the dynamic of Jesse and Lexi, it is not Lexi's fault for falling into Jesse the way that she has. We're privy to the conversations he's having with other people. We're privy to his ITMs and what he's saying in confessionals in a way that she is not. If I'm Lexi, why would I not fall all in? Like even hearing Lexi say, I was very upset at kickball. Later that night, he sent me flowers. He took me to my favorite restaurant. He did. I mean, yes, she's 26 and she's moving very fast and she's falling all in, but she's already told us she's a person who dives all in. But Jesse should have said, Lexi, I'm not comfortable with you meeting my family. Mm-hmm. And as I watch it, I'm so embarrassed for Lexi because hearing him say to West, there's no way I'm letting her meet my family. There's no way. And then West relaying it back to them in the car and making that 3.5 hour ride super uncomfortable by basically saying, you guys did it too soon, but you already did it. So, It's just, he's leading her on in such a way that makes me so sad for her. And like, maybe she should be a little aware of it, but she's also 26. So why would she? At 26, if I was her age, I'd be like, oh my God, this is so magical. This is so dreamy. We fell for each other so quick. We have so much chemistry. We're so into each other. I love this man. He loves me. He's introducing me to his family. He made it official with me. He heard what I said about I have to have exclusivity for intimacy. And he's listening and he's doing all the things, but behind her back, he's telling a different story to everybody else in the house. I feel so sorry for her. She's learning such a hard lesson.
She is learning a hard lesson, and it's sad because she's learning a hard lesson, and it's very hard to tell if Jesse is learning any lesson at all. And I think like we see with West in the car, he has perhaps learned a lesson too late, after messing things up with Sierra and really not messing things up with her, but really hurting her feelings. And I do hope and kind of think that he's learned something from that. But I think like I do know what's wrong with Jesse. It's that he likes Lexi. He wants to make her happy. And he sees making her happy as appeasing her. And as even when he doesn't agree with her feelings, just not saying that out loud, because what he's not doing is honoring his own feelings. I've said it on the podcast. I'll say it again. The patriarchy harms us all, and it harms Jesse too by not allowing himself to see his own feelings as just as valid as Lexi's, and especially when they're really different. And he has very different feelings than her about meeting the parents, and he's not expressing them. He's not sticking to them. But what he's also not doing is changing his behavior. So he's both ignoring his feelings and not changing his behaviors to adapt to Lexi's different feelings than his. He's just ignoring everything and moving forward because he likes her and because he thinks that that is what is going to make her happy. And oh, buddy, like nothing makes a woman less happy than being told that behaviors will change or feelings will be met, and then finding out that that is not what's happening. You've just been not voicing your feelings all along.
Right. And hearing you say all of that, I'm like, I can't wait till the reunion.
I know, because she was on Watch What Happens Live this week after this, and she was very demure. Like she was very, at this point, like Jesse can do what he wants, But like, I hope that she has learned something and unleashes a little in the reunion. And I hope he has too.
Yeah. I hope she's got her like checklist together. Like I hope she's ready to go in there and address and know exactly how she wants to address things. Because I'm going to be disappointed if not. Too much has happened. You've been able to watch it back. I don't want to hear what you've learned. I want to hear you get at Jesse.
And that's what Paige says to her when she's like, yeah, he's clearly acting different when you're not around. And that's the behavior that needs to change. He needs to know that he has to adapt as a whole person, even when you're not here. And she's like, I know that Jesse is aware of that. You need to be aware of it too. Like you need to be aware of what's happening, because it's in some ways I feel sad for her, but I almost like don't want to feel embarrassed for her, because this isn't her fault. And you do have to learn hard lessons, but what a treat to be 26 and have not learned those lessons yet. You know, like how it's like, I don't see her as silly for imagining a world where this guy isn't just like completely misleading her. And I do see some of the reason for his misleading her. He doesn't want to face his own feelings about the situation. He is confused by the world he's been raised in, but they both got to figure it out.
They both have to figure it out. They have to start calling him Messy Jesse.
He's so messy.
There's nobody who stirs the pot more. Nobody who, I mean, it's giving, but not to the extreme, the way Austin used to be. Like Austin was so, he couldn't help but give us drama, but different type of drama. Same thing with Jesse. He's just fumbling and bumbling his way around Montauk and the summer house. And it's just, and he just lives for the drama, which so do we. He's all of us. He is us sitting around the table.
Yes.
But that whole moment with Lindsay and Carl, like, thank God Carl stood up for himself. Like, Carl really had some dingers in the episode. And that's the thing with Lindsay. Like, I wonder if she'll lash out at Gabby for relaying the information the way that she did. But the flashback did show Gabby saying, oh, you met in the summer? And she's like, yep, we met in the summer. And
see, I remember in that moment, Emerald clarifying, like, you kind of hear Emerald say, you went to the game in the summer? And she's like, yep. Like, Emerald kind of gives her, like, I do feel like Emerald clarified, you went to the game in the summer. But Gabby still takes it, she DM'd him directly after the game. And I understood. I mean, Lindsay was going to latch onto that no matter what. And
because she needs a storyline.
And I feel like I hope that she won't lash out at Gabby, and I kind of don't think that she will, because she was glad to be able to argue about it either way. And also, like what Paige said at the beginning, which is the absolute treasure of Lindsay Hubbard, like, she's basically incapable of being wrong. You know, even when she is clearly wrong, her ability to pivot and then be like, well, your little girlfriend's out there telling people that it happened in the summer, which is also technically wrong, but it just doesn't matter because she's so founded in her beliefs. She also she said it last week and she said it again this week. She really didn't want Carl to find out that she was going to target him about this because she didn't want him to get his ducks in a row. And I don't know if he did or not. He did seem... He wasn't prepared with dates. He was capable of having the conversation. And I was very glad for him in that way.
Thrilled because Lindsay, in addition to having the capability of somehow always seeing herself in the right, which is a gift and a curse, not a character trait that I would want, but she also is so aggressive in how she talks and communicates in those moments that it doesn't give you the space to defend your side, or you get so exhausted by it all that I feel like people are just kind of like, whatever. You don't match that energy. And so I was so proud of Carl for being standing 10 toes down and everything. Yeah, I'll get my phone. Yeah, I'll show you the text message. Now, I did get nervous when he was walking down the stairs, opening up his phone. I was like, is he deleting messages?
He was tippy-tapping around, but...
I was like, is he deleting? But you could clearly see that the first message was when it was. But I'm sure he had to dig and find. But for a second, I was very nervous. I know. But then how he was she's like, you are an awful judge of character. And he said, that's very true. And not once, but twice. That's very true. And Paige and Amanda being like, ooh. Oh. But Lindsay was so angry, seeing red, it didn't even hit, she swatted it away. If the words were an actual, an object, she literally, her anger just batted it away. And then when he says, well, you never took, she's like, when she's caught at this point, and she's like, well, why didn't you tell me that you met the parents that summer? And he's like, why would I come home and say, gee, golly, I met these great parents? And everybody starts laughing. He made Lindsay look like an idiot. And I don't know. We've seen Lindsay be wrong. Sure. I've never seen Lindsay look stupid. I thought Lindsay looked stupid at the table. I've never seen it like that. Because she's still able to argue in a way where you're like, okay, it's a little illogical, but it makes sense. Or, okay. But she was so far off and dead wrong. And Carl was so right, which is why I think he had the confidence he did in coming back at her. She looked dumb.
She is dumb. I mean, like the way the thing, like, yes, you know, to try and pin that down and act like they broke up because, I mean, I guess the thing she seems angry about is she keeps saying that Carl is like playing the victim and is victimizing himself. And I think probably what she is really most upset about is that Carl would be getting a sort of like sympathetic edit. And I wish she could unburden herself of that because it's really not what's happening. Like, I don't really see Carl victimizing himself. I think he did maybe some at the end of the relationship. But here at the end, he's settled in. He's mostly just honest about, like, I haven't been dating. It doesn't make him look cool, you know, like, I don't think that is what's happening. And she looked dead wrong at the table, but I did think the way that they were able to just move on from it was wild. And it's just her ability to pivot. I mean, not 10 seconds before they kind of were able to move on was she like, prove it. And she was like, get your phone. And he was like, it's charging upstairs. And she goes, how convenient. Like he was supposed to know that she was going to be, you know, she'll just say anything. But when he is like, I felt like what kind of finally settled her down was he was like, I wasn't playing games, Lindsay. I was in love with you. I wanted to marry you. It wasn't right. What's so wrong with that? And then she's just kind of like, she says, okay, that's when she looks, there's been like a meme of her face looking like, okay, I was wrong. And she's like, okay, that's fine. And then she finds her last pivot point, which is just like, but if I hear about you disrespecting me, like this is the timeline I heard, so I had to bring it up. And he goes, I'm glad you did because we were able to settle it. And she says, well, thank you for giving me the receipts.
He gave her nothing.
So diplomatic.
If I was Lindsay, it was at this time that I would say, me and the baby are going to go lay down for a nap. You know, I would be like, and it was at that time that, you know, I would totally be using that. Okay, I'm a little tired. I just not feeling right. Me and the baby.
If she were wearing those crop tops, I would dead forget she's pregnant. Like, she is so in it. She is arguing. She is sitting down to Shabbat dinner. She seems, you know, just totally. And I do think her being sober during this conversation was another big part of like Carl being able to speak to her at all. Is like, she was being Lindsay, but she wasn't being drunk Lindsay. Thank goodness.
Sure.
And that's what Wes says. He's like, I like pregnant Lindsay. Or he's like, bring pregnant Lindsay back. And what he means is sober Lindsay. I mean, and they've come a long way. They were like so worried about having a pregnant woman in the house. And now they're like, this one every season, please. Every Shabbat dinner.
That's such a good point. Sober Lindsay. Let's bring back sober Lindsay. And I do think they were able to move on from it because Lindsay was probably like, let's move on. Like, yes, please, God, for the love of God. I'm not going to
say I was wrong, but something inside me knows I was wrong. I'm definitely not going to say I'm sorry. So let's move on.
And you know what I also loved is that everyone at the table let them have the argument. No one tried to butt in. No one tried to offer their opinion, their 2 cents. It was just let them hash it out. But their facial expressions said everything. And
Jesse was I just heard from God. He said, go get your phone, Carl.
Messy Jesse. Whether he's in somebody's comment section or stirring the pot at a Shabbat dinner, he is always messy Jesse. What else happens? And then we see, you know, they teased it. They teased Carl getting emotional and everyone not everyone, but the guys in Sierra gathering around him. And I thought it was him being overwhelmed by this argument, but it was obviously the anniversary of the death of his brother, which if you're new to Summer House, we actually see that in the earlier episodes. We see him get the call. It all happened in real time. I always forget it happens during the summer, but for him to also relate it to his relationship with Lindsay and how she was there for him, either as a friend or as a lover, was also really sad. I always worry about Carl because of the what Summer House used to be to him, his struggles with sobriety. He seems to be doing well, but he also seems to be a little lost professionally and still trying to figure himself out. So when I see him have these breakdown moments, he seems to have put boundaries and things in place to, like, running, working out, listening to music, to create a life for himself where he can protect himself from, the things that used to take him out of, sobriety. But I still just worry about Carl. I don't know why. I just do. But I really loved, Emerald obviously doesn't know him as well, but he was still kind of like, do you want me to give you your space? And then to see the guys, like West came out immediately, gave him a hug. Carl gave him a hug. Sierra was like, Carl didn't make his bed. Is he okay?
Yeah.
I was like, he has a routine that keeps him together. And it's those moments where, like, as crazy as things were at the Shabbat dinner, they are still very much a family and love on each other because of what they've been through over the years. Oh,
I know.
Carl.
It was sweet. I worry about Carl too. I mean, he does seem to be doing pretty well. And like he said, I kind of, like, I let myself feel the feelings this time because I needed to, because it's a harder year. Like, he does relate this death a lot to Lindsay. He had Lindsay at the time. It's literally, he found out on her birthday. The anniversary is the day before her birthday. It's all very tied up. And I'm sure to have argued with her the night before it didn't help, And so it was nice to see his friends rally around him. And also I liked that Emerald was like, you guys, he was like, let it out, man. He was like, that's a good thing about you guys. Like, a lot of men won't kind of let it out, and y'all will. Like, those men do not express themselves to women, but they do express themselves to each other. And
100%.
that is special. Like, it is a younger generation. It is nice to see the way that they relate to one another. And yeah, it was a nice moment.
It really was a nice moment. And then to add to all the things surrounding, the anniversary, when he's like, I went out on a run, there's this little place, Lindsay and I planted a tree. It's like things we never knew before, we saw on camera. Because we always see the drama, but there was a lot of love between Carl and Lindsay. And I was talking about this earlier to Callie when, you see Paige and Craig talk. Obviously, hindsight is 2020. And, by the time it's over, there's so much hurt. And you're talking from a place of this knowledge because you're talking from, with hindsight. But at the same time, you're talking from a place of kind of like what I wish I would have done. And that's what I see with Lindsay and Carl. That's what I see with Paige and Craig in this final conversation that Paige is having with Sierra, which thank you, Sierra, for ripping us away from Kyle's DJ set, backyard DJ set, to say, let's give the people what they really want. And having that conversation with Paige. There was something else I was going to say about Carl. What was also evident to me is that this was around Lindsay's birthday. And this is August. Lindsay's a Leo. Such a Leo. Such a Leo. At first I thought it was July and I was like Cancer, which could also make sense. But I'm like, Lindsay is a lion.
From the little bit I know about astrology. Yes. And
Carl's an Aquarius. I'm a bull. Same. My ex is an Aquarius. But I'm like, it doesn't work. We don't do well with that. So I'm like, oh, she's a Leo and he's an Aquarius? Even more so. Some signs are great with Aquarius, not bulls and lions.
I genuinely believe, though, that Carl and Lindsay will be friends again. Like, I really believe, mostly because of who Lindsay is. Because of who Lindsay is and how she can eventually move on. And in general, she can very quickly move on. This will obviously take more time, but I really believe that she can move on and that he would still like her as a friend and that they never should have dated, been romantically involved, that he ultimately made the right decision and that, like, they are tethered for life. I can see them being friends again. Yeah.
I could see it. I could see it too. But again, it would be Lindsay because Carl wants to. Did you think it was odd that Lindsay went upstairs and then told her boyfriend what happened? I'm like, what?
I was surprised the degree to which she had expressed to her boyfriend that this would have bothered her, you know? I think like you got to talk about exes some for sure, but like it would maybe be hard to be her boyfriend and see how bothered she is by a past relationship. But
Yeah.
there's nothing average actually about any of Lindsay's relationships. So
Yeah. I just, when she was on the phone doing it, I'm like, maybe she knows it's going to air and she's kind of like, let me get ahead of it. And maybe she wanted him to see. After that, I immediately called you, not saying it wasn't genuine, but when I saw it, I was like, don't know if I'd be running to my baby daddy telling him all this stuff about, especially with the way she exploded. But, you know, they're still together, which is great. And I'm rooting for that. Last thing, I kind of talked about it a little bit at the top, but the conversation with Sierra and Paige. What were your thoughts hearing Paige? What I did say is, I think Paige knew all the things that she said on camera and wanted to get ahead of it. That's what, like, she had to break up with Craig before the season aired.
Yeah, I think there are like two things going on. One is a bit of, you know, sweeping up behind herself or sort of knowing that she was eventually going to break up with him. So therefore not exactly protecting the relationship on camera like she probably has in the past. But there is also a very real element of when you've been in a relationship with someone for that long, you often, unless something sort of big happens, like if the reason for breaking up is just incompatibility that you are slowly coming to terms with, you do slowly come to terms with it. Like there is a period of time, 6 months, a year, who knows, where you are sitting with the idea of breaking up with someone and getting comfortable with it. And I think like for that to be, we are seeing that happen on camera. I think there is a certain element of like performing that happening too. But you do have to like, it's not, I don't really think she was leading Craig on. I think once she started to entertain the idea of breaking up, she had to sit with that a while. Like, it's like she said, she loves him. And I love when Sierra pointed out, she's like, Sierra literally cuts her off. She's like, Paige is like, I've said it to him so many times. Like, if this isn't what you want. And Sierra is like, why are you putting it on him? It is, she says it's so much easier to give the other person the out. And I think what Sierra knows and what Paige probably knows is Craig isn't going to take the out. Like, and it was same for Lindsay last year. Like, Lindsay was never going to break up with Carl, even if she should have. Craig is never going to break up with Paige. And I was glad that Sierra pointed that out to her. And I felt like I saw, maybe I'm gullible, but I felt like I saw Paige taking that on in real time and taking on the emotion of like, I'm going to have to break up with him.
Yeah. You could really see, I mean, when she asked her the last question, do you think he's still your person? You can see, like, I've never seen Paige with nervous like that, like twirling her hair and not being able to make eye contact. And she was very uncomfortable with the conversation because to your point, she was realizing things as she was admitting them and saying them out loud, not just to Sierra, but knowing she was saying them on camera in front of everyone. And she was being very honest with herself. It was like Sierra was kind of a mirror to her at that moment. Yeah.
We always end the Paige and Craig stuff being like, it's sad. It's just sad. It's
sad because you know, and you've had these relationships, Jodi, you know, it's two people that have a lot of love for each other. And that's very real. But there's so much more, you know, like as kids, I feel like we were taught love is enough, or fairy tales told us, or rom-coms told us love is enough. And the reality is it's not. It's timing. It's family and friends. It's like where you live. There's so many other factors that all have to come together for people to be together. And it's not just love, but when the love is there and it's real, it's really sad to see that like it just won't work.
And
It's
I
just
think you're
don't
also,
work.
it's like love. And then but you're also told like relationships are hard. Marriage is hard.
Yeah.
There's a lot of compromise. And I think what we're seeing with Paige and Craig is like, yes, there is a lot of compromise. There are also things that you have to know whether you will or will not compromise on them. Like the expectation can't be that when there is love there, you continue to compromise and compromise and compromise. You compromise on what you're comfortable with. Like there is a balance to it. And I think we're seeing with Paige that she is realizing in real time as she becomes an adult, as her life changes, as her career changes, like what is important to her and what she's comfortable with compromising on. Cause she's like, I hear myself say this, like, if I love him, why won't I just compromise on some of this stuff? And the reason is because she doesn't want to. And if you don't want to,
and you don't want to lose yourself. Exactly. You don't want to lose yourself in it and then resent the person for it. And when I was talking to Callie at the beginning, I was saying my relationship before The Bachelor, I was like a Paige. I see it. I was a lawyer and I was like, I'm licensed in this state. You're a coach. You're traveling all over the place. He was kind of the Paige, I guess. And I was like, if I'm the breadwinner, you're trying to figure it out. You move where I am. And neither one of us were willing to compromise. And that was a big problem in our relationship. And then I didn't say this part at the top of the podcast, but when I went on The Bachelor, I said it. I don't know if it aired, but I was like, my relationship ended because there was no compromise. There was no sacrifice. And part of it was distance. So I will never do that again in a relationship. Mm-hmm. It's like, it's important for me to be in the same place or at least have a plan to be in the same place. And I think I overcompensated. You know how like sometimes one thing's one way and then you just overcompensate. Mm-hmm. Because you're trying so hard not to do it the same way again, to where it's like, that's not the answer either. And I hope for Paige, I think she's making the right decision for herself, as she should, because it wouldn't work with the setup with Craig. But I hope in her next relationship, she doesn't overcompensate for fear of what she did as she learns from mistakes in the past.
Yeah.
So it's such a balance. It's such a balance.
And but I think you don't know, you don't find it until you find it, like you're not going to, I think you have to trust yourself on when something is right and when something is wrong. And we've seen Paige have the wisdom of a woman in her 30s that she then advises Lexi in her 20s. And like Paige is still learning too.
Yep. Really interesting. Well, of course, another day, another Paige and Craig. We're adding on to.
They're really dragging this one out.
They really are. I need them to get to it. Let's get to the finale. But that is it for us here on Morally Corrupt. You guys thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you on Tuesday where we will be recapping the news of the week. And did you see the TMZ thing with the altercation with the woman with Kyle?
With Kyle,
and
yes.
When Teddy, I need to know what happened. We'll cover it on Tuesday. Surely more information will be out by Tuesday. People cover it then, but I saw it right before I hopped on this podcast. Crazy. Anyways, you guys have a safe weekend and we'll see you then. Bye.